Thank you. I'm a little speechless. Thank you.
You made this happen, Tyrone, brother. You made this happen.
Dude, this is the reason I do it like this, because I love the authentic reaction. I can see the love and the joy and the gratitude in your face, brother. And don't be ashamed of it. It's beautiful.
Oh, I am a crier typically. People are telling me that, but
Welcome back to Salty 7, and boy, am I excited to have Jim Fairchild here with us. And it's kind of a special day for our channel and for you, Jim, because Salty 7 is going to give away another scholarship to a very worthy brother. And we'd like for you to kind of share a little bit about Tyrone and his story. And we're going to get Tyrone on and do similar to what we did with Brian, how we surprised him and with the news and get a very authentic reaction. So nothing makes my heart feel better to do that, you know. And I know you and I were visiting in private, and you were just really enjoying the opportunity to sponsor Tyrone. And so would you take a moment to kind of share with our audience about Tyrone and why you selected him?
Yeah. It's this is an honor, Kyle. It's an absolute honor, and my heart is wide open as well. So this is the kind of thing that just really, I feel like, makes the world go around, you know? And Tyrone is somebody that I've known for, quite a few years, 4 or 5 years, I believe. And he also has MS. He was diagnosed with MS. His body has MS, I'll say. And we have corresponded a lot, trying to figure out how to do this stuff. And I've shared a lot of my processes with him. And we keep on trying new things. And have you heard about this author? Have you heard about that? And then, Tyrone got into Dr. Joe. And most recently, when I talked with him, you and I were just in Nashville 3 weeks ago. Can you believe that? 3 weeks ago.
I know.
That's when we did our last interview, was 3 weeks ago. All the things that have happened since then, it feels like a lifetime ago.
Yes.
But since I got back from Nashville, Tyrone messaged me, and he's really doing the work, and he's getting ready to go to Denver for his first Dr. Joe event. And he has, I believe this is correct, I think he has 4 kids under the age of 4. We'll need to clarify that, but he is busy. He's a busy guy, and he's really doing the work. And I'm proud of him for stepping into this. As we know, stepping into Dr. Joe is that spiritual step that is just that rabbit hole that we just go down. And I feel like Tyrone is going down the rabbit hole in a whole new way with his heart. And the last, when I talked with you recently, and I mentioned Tyrone, it was hitting me in the heart of all the work that he's doing, and knowing what a relief it would be to go to Denver and not worry about money, and then you step up and say, this could be somebody we could sponsor. And that's amazing to me. It's just amazing.
Well, it feels right in my heart. We kind of visited about that. It's just trying to lead with our hearts more as men. I mean, I can speak really only for myself, but I know from visiting with other of my guy friends, we typically work out of our brains. And so one of my spiritual journeys is trying to work more or think more from my heart, and you mentioned going down the rabbit hole, and it can be. I can tell you, I've never felt better, but I've never felt more internal struggle or pain. And I'd like to hear maybe some things that you're kind of working on right now as we wait for Tyrone to come on. We've talked a little bit about our egos. We've talked about our efforts in vain to try to control things. And so I'll digress and let you kind of visit. What's your latest struggles and victories?
It's so funny, Kyle, the way this works out, because I've been really hit with my ego this last weekend. And I went on a hike. I live in Washington State, and I have a friend who really knows this area really well. And we've been doing some waterfalling, and she took me to a beautiful waterfall. Let me phrase this correctly. I used to really be worried about my wheelchair and whether it could do it or not, whether I could do it. And I worked through all of that. And as I was working through that, my ego kicked in and started bringing in all these old thoughts that just were not relevant to the adventure I was on. And I started getting stuck in that momentum. And I had a day of, it felt like old energy. I was really stuck in the yuck, you know? And I knew it was a lie, and I knew it was a pattern. The cool thing is that I've noticed this pattern this time much more clearly than ever before. It used to be that this, I mean, I was sabotaging myself on this beautiful hike. And I was thinking about falling off the trail, and I was thinking about these things that just, energy flows where attention goes. And as I would think that, I'm like, Jim, don't think that. Why are you possibly thinking about that right now when you're in this beautiful environment? And so I feel like when something really good happens to me, happens with me, happens in my life, then ego kicks in. And in Nashville, Dr. Joe said something that has really stuck with me. I mean, he may have said it 1,000 times before, but I heard it this time. And
Right.
He said, right? We always hear it differently. He said, ego chooses battles it knows it can win. And so as I was on this hike, my ego's kicking in and saying, Jim, remember this? Remember this person and how they screwed you, or this or that or the other? And I'm like, that's not even relevant. It's completely irrelevant to where I am right now. And yet I was stuck in that. And so this whole weekend, I've been trying to utilize my tools. And when I have thoughts like that, my body gets really tired. And then my body gets tired and my thoughts start going down. And I saw it. I'm like, I got to turn this around right now. And I just kept on saying, change, change, change. And using my tools, listening to music. I got lost in a Netflix series about Michael Jordan yesterday, and let that kind of inspire me, and just gave myself a break. And I wasn't able to get into my meditations because I was kind of rampant in different thoughts. And then this morning I woke up and did an alchemist meditation, knowing that we're going to talk to Tyrone today. So opening my heart, thinking about what I have the opportunity to do today. And then I jumped on my meditation call with the dot connectors, and I told them I wasn't going to be able to join, but I gave them a quote. I give them a quote every day. You know, we meet Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so I give a quote. And today's quote was, "We only regret the chances we do not take." Or in the end, we regret the chances we don't take. And it just hit me. It's like, life's too short. Life's too short. And my ego is just kicking in, but I understand it much better now. And yeah, you and I have talked about it. And ego is tricky. Ego is sneaky. And it snuck in this weekend, and it hit me when I wasn't expecting it. And Dr. Joe also said in Nashville, he's like, sometimes I have meditations and the ego kicks back in, and Dr. Joe says, all right, here we are. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. I have the next 2 hours to figure out what's going on. And that's the way I feel right now, is I'm just figuring out more of me. I'm mastering more of me. And every time I do this, it feels like I up a level, kind of like Mario hitting and getting the mushroom and up in a level.
Yep.
But it's hard. It's hard stuff, but it works.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, can you see me now? I had a call coming through.
Yep. I see it.
Let me make sure I don't have this happen one more time. So one of the things you were talking about ego, and you said that ego is trying to keep you in the known.
Yeah.
Is how I understood what you were saying. And so if we want to truly be in the unknown, then we're, I guess, trying to prove our ego wrong. Because if the ego is constantly bringing us back to the known because it knows it can somewhat control or knows what to expect, are we working to prove our ego wrong by saying, oh, look, we went into the unknown over here the other day and it worked out beautiful. Remember that?
Well, yeah. And I don't know. I can't say that I know the exact answer to what you're asking, because I've been trying to understand ego, the ego part of me, for a long time. I mean, as an example, I was on a beautiful hike on Friday, and my ego was coming in and bringing in the past. The way I look at it is, it was bringing in the past because the elevated emotions that I was ready to have scared my ego, scared me a little bit. It's like, am I ready for this? Do I have the courage to step into what I'm about to do? And yes, I have the courage to do that. I did it. I was there. I mean, I went further than I thought I would. I saw waterfalls, amazing waterfalls, and the power was just felt so good to be in nature. And yet my mind was kicking back someplace else that I didn't want to be. And to me, it just feels like the ego brings in those lies because of the chemical addiction that I've had for decades, and the ego's like, wait a second, you're not supposed to feel this good. And every time I feel good, I need to step into it again, because in all honesty, I'm in a wheelchair right now, and I'm going to get out. And I'm going to live in a body, in a mindset, in a spiritual place that I've never lived before. That is the unknown. And so I think that when I'm stepping into that myself, my ego's like, dude, hold on a second here. What are you doing? And not every time, I'm getting better and better at it. The refractory periods are coming in less and less. And this event that happened on Friday, there was a time where it would have stuck with me for weeks. But instead it was a weekend. Instead it was a day. And I feel like I'm getting back on track. And I did the alchemist meditation this morning. Then I did generating empowerment meditation, and just felt it more, felt more in alignment than I did over the weekend. And that's the process, is just getting back into who I truly know that I am.
Jim, I hope I don't say something out of place here, but it's just what's on my heart. You have inspired me in ways that I never thought about, because I see you're physically in a chair. And so I've been thinking about that. And I know you're going to be out of that someday. And I hope it's tomorrow, right? That's your journey.
Yeah.
But I realized that we all have a chair that we're stuck in.
Yes.
And sometimes we could be perfectly physically able to maneuver in our 3D world, but there is a impediment internally. And I was thinking about that. I was like, okay, then what is my chair? What is holding me back from doing what I ultimately want to do? And I'm still sorting through that, but it was such a big awakening moment for me. It's like, when I see all these other people around me that have physical things that they're working on, we're all the same. It's just some of us, we have the impairments internal. And that really moved me to a place of compassion, Jim. Sorry, I'm
no,
emotional about it, but
it's true. And I had a big epiphany as I'm on this journey to get out of this chair. I've hated this chair. I have really, really hated being in this wheelchair. And I'm like, that's not serving me. This wheelchair is getting me around. This wheelchair is doing what it's supposed to do. And then the big epiphany I had was, if I were to be out of this wheelchair right now in this instant, what would I be like? And I would still be that broken person unless I fix myself first, unless I heal internally and go over all those internal wheelchairs. And that's where I'm at now, is that I love this wheelchair because I went hiking last Friday. I love this wheelchair because something came to me the other day. It's like, this body is a vehicle for my soul. This wheelchair is a vehicle for my body. And so it's just helping my soul get around right now. And I think of Stephen Hawking. That guy was in a wheelchair and changed the world. So it's not the wheelchair, for everybody that I've looked at physically active people, and I said, if I could just be like that, I would have everything I needed. Well, that's like saying if I just win the lottery, I have everything I need, but you're still the same person. The lottery doesn't change the person you are. So this internal work that we're doing, Kyle, is hard. It's really hard because we're changing the program. And in order to get out of this chair, I know that it's a biological upgrade. It's a software upgrade. It's that change, but I've dug deep. I've excavated my feelings for years to feel empowered like I do today.
Well, fantastic work. The other thing you mentioned that I wanted to talk a little bit about is you said you were reading about Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And Dr. Joe says that, and I've always just kind of been like, yeah, that sounds great, whatever, but never really took his advice. He says, if you want to be successful in finance, then go find somebody who was successful. Or if you want to, make this accomplishment in your life, go find someone who was really great in that area and read about them. Or for the motivational factor, for the idea generation, for, planting those seeds in our own networks, right? In our own neurocognitive networks. And I've always just kind of been like, nah, I don't need to do that. So what was your experience like reading about Michael Jordan?
So I'm going to take it another step and just talk about, you have the inspirational people that we can watch. And we also have shows that we watch that, as Dr. Joe says, don't watch a TV show you don't want to experience.
Yeah.
And I found a show that I really enjoy, but it's depressing. And it's called The Morning Show on Apple TV, and it's about network television, and it's stressful.
I've seen it,
but I really like the characters, so I like the characters, and I've been into that. Well, I watch it at night, and I'm like, okay, Jim, watch it at 6 o'clock, and then, so you're not going to bed with it. But then I watch 2 or 3 episodes, and I'm still going to bed with it. And so I realized that I'm in a shitty mood because I've been watching this show, and this show is not nice. Even though I like the characters, they're doing not nice things. And so I switched, and I watched the movie Air with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck first. And then that got me hooked on the whole Nike story and Michael Jordan. And then Netflix has a 10 episode series on Michael Jordan. And it's really good. I mean, it just talks about who he is. And, I've heard people say he's probably the most competitive athlete in history. And after watching this, I'm like, that dude was out to win. That's all he did. That's all he thought about. And what if I take that into my life? What does it feel like to win the playoffs that I'm in, win the championship that I'm in right now? Because I'm having to do what Michael Jordan does in a sense. I gotta wake up every morning and prepare for my day. We're playing different games, but I still got to prepare, and I want to be the best that I can be at what I'm doing today. And that's what he did every day.
My experience is more with football, and there was the Dallas Cowboys had the trio, during the golden era, if you will, when they won so many Super Bowl rings. And I can't tell the story verbatim, but what I do recall is they were in the gym every day working out together. There was just this network. And they put the effort in. Everybody just sees them on Football Sunday and looking fantastic and saying, "Oh, I want that," but there's no connection to all the effort that went in. And so, totally agree with you, and want to do that myself. Put that effort in to see. I guess I just need to sit down and start researching who I want to be like.
or feel it. And I agree with you. The one thing, another thing with Michael Jordan is that he radiates confidence. And so he brings everybody around him up to another level. And Dr. Joe says that too. Don't go down to the level of the people around you. Step into who you are and then let them raise up to you. And I had an experience recently. I went to my daughter's graduation. She graduated from Boise State, and super proud of her. I went to go to the graduation with her, and the people that I've had the hardest time with in my life were all going to be there. And so I just decided to show up in love. And I said, I'm going to radiate love, and I'm staying there. and I'm there for my daughters, and I'm there to just be me. And that's what I did. And it worked out amazingly, amazingly well. Way better than I ever could have imagined. And here we are.
Yeah, so Tyrone just joined in. How are you, sir?
Hey, Tyrone, good to see you, man.
Welcome to the Tyrone, welcome to the Salty 7 channel, buddy. First time to meet you, but I know you know my friend Jim Fairchild over here, aka Thor.
Oh yes, Jim is a legend, as you well know. We're all legends, but he's awesome.
We are all legends for sure. Well, I wanted to ask you to come on, and I'm going to jump right to the chase. I've been informed that you are already registered to go to Denver, the Denver Weeklong.
Yes.
And this is going to be your first retreat?
Yeah. I've waited almost 5 years. I've tried to get on a couple times. I've joined the live sessions when Joe does those. I think my first one was like Portland or Niagara Falls or something way back in 2019.
Well, Salty 7 has a scholarship program, and Jim has sponsored you as our next participant to receive a refund for what you're paying to go to the Denver week-long event. And I would like to be the first to share that with you, brother.
Thank you. I'm a little speechless. Thank you.
You made this happen, Tyrone, brother. You made this happen.
Dude, this is the reason I do it like this, because I love the authentic reaction. I can see the love and the joy and the gratitude in your face, brother. And don't be ashamed of it. It's beautiful.
Oh, I am a crier typically. People are telling me that, but
Well, I know just a little bit. I know just a little bit about your story. Jim knows just a little bit, but for our audience to understand more about why we selected you, could you please share just a little bit about your challenges right now financially, the effort you have put in so far over the last few years, whatever you're willing to share, we'd love to hear.
Okay, I've told this story a few times. I don't know how much you want. You can stop me when I'm going too long.
It's your show, brother.
My body was diagnosed in 2003 with MS. One day at work, I had stroke-like symptoms, freaked me out, went to the ER. Later that year, had the diagnosis. And since then, I'm a very active person physically, but in about, I'd go to the gym. My last time skiing even was in, I want to say 2017 or 16, but in about 2015, my body just started to show more symptoms. So things like balance, gait, I had headaches. And since then, that got me really serious about working this out. So I started seeing all kinds of therapies and specialists. And I went to Santa Barbara for some stretching techniques. And then I went to a number of doctors here. There's also a traumatic brain injury therapy I went to. I've done nutrition. I still do that. So I still do therapies and anything that seems like it's going to help. But in about October 2018 is when I did the traumatic brain injury therapy for the week. And a friend of mine told me about You Are the Placebo. And I'm telling you that driving back and forth to work, if you probably both read that, that, but it was so compelling. My wife was like, I'd come home after work every day and we'd just talk about it for the whole time I was there, pretty much. So very compelling. So then I did that. I guess that was probably as fast as we could go through that book. But as soon as that finished, I started that meditation. I did that for about 8 months. But during the summer of 2019, a friend of mine is a energy healer, great family friend in our neighborhood here, and she was very interested in the placebo too, because I started a book club with some friends, and they were all compelled too. I guess there's about a dozen of us, because that book, I was like, what the? And I started anything that was available then, testimonials, whatever. And then she and I and my wife did the progressive. So she bought it and we shared that with her, and we would watch it and talk about it. I guess that took about 2 months to get through. And, ever since then, I just have been hooked. I meditate every day. This morning was Botech 3. And trying to think of what else I could say, but I am, well, we all have faults and strengths, and they're kind of the same. But my wife told me, you may be addicted to effort. And I was like, oh, and I don't always agree with her, but she usually has some good insights. And so I was like, this is a very new thing for me to address, but it gets to the point that I have always been a go-getter, and maybe, partly out of survival. So I think I'm learning in the work that with Joe, and just the last couple of years, I've been coming to a lot of self-awareness, and observing emotions and some of my own tendencies, which have proved me good, but at this point, they've probably caused me stress that's undue. And among many things that I could say, that's a pretty quick summary, I guess. But I do everything. I've got a Dropbox account. I save folders and documents and recordings, and I watch Rewired repeatedly. That's one of my favorite ones. I just started the progressive again, which is exciting because it kind of renews the excitement I had when I first started. So
Now, did you apply to be a Healy in Denver?
I did. I've applied for that, and I applied for the that Give to Give scholarship. So this is just welcome news. I can't even, if I could reach out and hug you, I would, brother.
I can feel it right here. So, one of the things that kind of touched my heart when Jim and I were talking is that you have 4 children at home. I have 5 of my own, and just how tough financially things have been for you, but yet you still took the step to pay for Denver, and we're feeling possibly some guilt from taking money away from the family to do this for your own benefit. And so that really touched me, that I wanted to help try to remove that so that you could really enjoy being a part of this community, being in the love, and really giving yourself this healing journey. I can feel it, and I'm so happy to be able to do that for you.
Oh, I really, I mean, words are just not enough. I appreciate it. You've hit it on the head. I father of 4, and I'm not 18 anymore. So that sense of giving them what they need, and all the expenses we've been having, even just recently, I'll be honest, I thought, gosh, I'll register, but if I can't get there with maybe some help, it's okay. Last time I applied for Denver, I think it was Denver, I said the same thing. I said, if I can't get in, I'm really going to try not to get upset or feel sad about it, which has happened before. The first few, I was like, oh man, I got to press that button a lot faster. So,
yeah. Well, so you kind of talked about your story, and one of the things that I really enjoy visiting about with other guys is their spiritual journeys. And I like to ask the question, what are you working on right now? What are some of the internal things that you're aware of? And might I dare say we struggle with that you're trying to work through and be a victor over?
Kyle, those are great questions. I have a massive journal. I use this app called Day One that I really like, but for Denver, I've been kind of listing some of those things. And gosh, off the top of my head, I'm not sure what victimhood is. And I think I've been there. But I feel like it's hard to go back in time too much and analyze that. But it seems like the last few times I've tried to register for an event, like I've said, I think I've been better about just not getting worked up about it. And I have so many friends on Facebook that I've followed over the years that have helped me to realign with my mirror neurons to say, okay, just because I will say, with almost 5 years now, I guess let's say it this way. Recently, I met Ikshit out of on Facebook, and I was so compelled by his story. I thought, if he can do it for over 40, well, he's 4 or 5 with Dr. Joe, then I can keep going. Because there's times where I just think, why am I doing this? Am I nuts? And it wasn't, at first it was a worthiness thing where I was questioning things like, well, why hasn't it happened? Or why? And so I've been learning around that too. But those kinds of people, and Ikshit is just my recent one, but Jim certainly is. He and I know Scott Sunderland, who was, when I first started, I guess I found him in early 2020. And then there's Tippy. I have a massive collection of testimonials of people that are like that just keep me going. And I have my days. In fact, today I got up and I didn't sleep well. And I thought, oh man, maybe I'll just not do it today. And I did it. And it probably was not the best meditation I've had. I remember my first time with Botech 3 was pretty inspiring. But then another friend, another testimonial, she's reached out and she's going to Denver. Lisa, I forget her last name, Lisa Patrick or something. But she's healed herself of a number of things. And she's been going since 2016. And she'd said, and I'm losing my train of thought, but it's, we get, and I've heard this before, we get to this point of, it feels kind of blasé, almost like, gosh, this doesn't have quite the emotional oomph as it used to. And she reminded me that, that's probably the time when some things are going to start happening. And Dr. Joe said that too, and you guys probably know that well. But I'm forgetting your question a little bit. But
should I get excited right now? Because to be honest, I feel a little blasé right now. So what you just did, brother, was motivate me to be like, keep going. Something awesome is right around the corner. I was talking with my wife just the other day. And I really love what you just said because she was even kind of like really down and she's like, why, and I've had all these wonderful things. And that's when I told her, I was like, that truly has to be the river of change. And I remember Dr. Joe saying that when you get to that point where you are up against yourself, you just have to be curious. What is on just the other side of myself? And I saw that in my wife. Sometimes it's hard to see it in our own face, right? Or in our own bodies. It's hard for us to look in a mirror and really, Josh and I talk about this all the time. You can't see the forest for the trees. It's an old saying, but it was really easy for me to identify that in my wife. And I was so thankful that she was able to receive that. And just the next day, it was like, boom, immediate bounce back. And So thank you for sharing that with me, because it's like, yes, I do feel that blasé from time to time. And now you got me really excited to see what the universe holds right on the other side.
Yeah.
If I could add to that, Dr. Joe says when it's the hardest is when it matters the most. And I've been saying that a lot this weekend because it was a tough weekend this weekend. And today I feel a lot better. And so when it's the hardest, I made it through. And, we have those meditations that we all know there's no bad meditations, right? But there are those that are tougher. I mean, this weekend, I got out of a meditation because I'm like, I just don't have it right now. And I stopped doing it, which I try not to do, but I'm like, all right, I'm just going to give myself a break right now. But it was hard and it mattered and I did it, and that's, all of us here, we're here because we keep going. And, it's no matter what, we're still here. I've made it through 100% of my bad days. And here I am.
I like
it's an
that.
interesting spin. Yeah. I mean, we don't, if we're still here the next day, we were victorious over the day behind us, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I certainly love both
That's
you brothers, man. And go ahead, Tyrone. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's a good way to put it. I was going to add maybe two things. You cut me short if you need to, but I could go on all day. Two things came to mind. One was this morning, and another one was a friend having said something a number of months ago. This morning, I'll quick get to. I've been talking about this in church yesterday. I just said, I just broke out. I talked about a lot of things. And one thing was, I was just reiterating what I'd been learning, and I still learn it. I mean, it's not like I have it all together, I guess. I don't know, maybe I do. But to be able to shorten the distance between the thought and that emotion, and to realize, oh, wait a minute, that's the old self talking. Because this morning I did it again, right? I got up and I started feeling that angst, that what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? I'm tired. My butt hurts. My back hurts. And I got up and I even got through the meditation, and then I thought, gosh, it wasn't that great. But then I'd been sitting with my thoughts and just saying, and finally, and I mean like much quicker than before, saying, I'm just going to sit with this emotion and I'm just going to let it do its thing. And then I'm just going to keep telling myself, it's going to be okay. Give it a couple of hours, maybe it's days. I don't know. Whatever the time frame is, I'm at least now aware and observing that emotion. So that's been very awesome today. So, because it's at least a positive, because the meditation was not great. It's like you said, Jim, I have stopped, well, maybe stopped some of them shorter because I know when they're going to end or something. But I remember doing that out here on our lawn and just getting upset about it and just tossing my headphones off. The other thing I was going to say is that a good family friend of ours, we call her our second grandma because she's really great for her kids. But she was a social worker in the South during the 70s and I think 80s. But she has many stories that are just pretty astounding. One of which, she said she was on the floor with a woman that had schizophrenia. It was a severe form. And she said, back then they probably used some pretty harsh drugs. But the doctor, let me see if I can get this straight, because our friend said the doctor put this woman, I'm going to try and get this right because I may not, they had given her some medication or something that altered her mind state. And I think our friend was in the room when a nurse came back in to check this patient out. And the nurse said, that's funny. All of the stuff they were measuring was not there. And this is very, very non-scientific, but it got at the fact our friend was, because I've talked to her a lot about Dispenza and the old self and measuring all that stuff and how it changes. But this woman with the schizophrenia actually got to a point somehow, I don't remember exactly, but where what they had been measuring was not there. Like it was another person. It was crazy. So that was just one in many drops in a bucket that remind me that, yeah, we can change the material self.
Mhm.
So anyway,
I love it. That's beautiful, Tyrone. And I want to share with you to resist the temptation to ask any real questions around the week-long event. I think you will enjoy it more, really trusting to go into the unknown and just let it flow. Because I know I can speak for me as a guy. It's been difficult to not let go. I mean, to try to let go of control. And I think that's a beautiful part of what Dr. Joe does. He likes to try to keep it timeless. And just that way we can really let ourselves go and turn that phone off if you can. Don't try to do any work. That'd be my only advice, is really try to turn everything off in the real world so that you can truly get into the quantum. And other than that, just have fun. It's a beautiful, beautiful experience.
yeah, I've been excited to go. I don't know if this is a time to ask a question or two, but you can tell me otherwise. But I'm very excited to go. It just
Yeah, we'll cover in private all the other details, but I just want to say I love you. I love you both, brothers, so much. You are truly an inspiration to me, and want to say I'm looking forward to both of your testimonial updates. I see it in the very near future. And one of the things that I have found so cool in this process is I have seen over the last 8 months just how I have changed personally, not only internally, but my physiology has been changing. And I've had friends comment on it. My wife has commented on it. And so it definitely has all those effects. So that's something I'm excited to see in both of you guys as well, is the physiological changes as well as the internal changes. And so with that, I just would like to say thank you so much for the opportunity to present this to you, for you being worthy and receiving it. It's a beautiful thing. And you have no idea just how much love I feel in my heart right now for being able to do this. Wonderful, wonderful. And just want to say thank you to everyone who watches our channel. We love all you guys very much. We do have our email out there. We'll put it in the bottom of this video for you guys and also in the comments. And then we do have the GoFundMe site if anybody feels like they would like to donate as we continue to push helping other people find Dr. Joe and be able to go to these events. That's gofundme.com/Salty7. And with that, Jim and Tyrone, I just want to say, love you, brothers.
Love you, Kyle, and thank you so much, man. And love you too, Tyrone.
I so much back at you, both of you. Thank you. Sending big love.